Good. All right. Introduce yourselves.
So I'm Evan Francois.
JJ Wilkes.
Brandon Manis.
I'm Sara Lawyer, and this is our final project for our Souls of Black Folk class. We chose to do questions 3 and 4, which are questions number 3 is the internet is full of inspirational quotes from important African American leaders like Martin Luther King Jr., Ella Baker, and Malcolm X, as well as literary figures like Maya Angelou and Toni Morrison. Find a collection of such quotes that you can use to tie together a variety of readings and themes. And then number 4 is the color blind or color enhanced. While much has changed since the first African Americans were brought to the U.S. 400 years ago, their legacy of rhyme, music, and storytelling, worship, community orientation, and indomitable spirit remain as valuable parts not just of African American culture, but of American culture more broadly conceived. Eddie Glaude points out that in the 1980s, a new political era attempted to describe America as colorblind. However, as poet Sadir Bashir cautions, it is the voice of privilege that makes the claim, well, I don't see color. Use a variety of sources to demonstrate how, in fact, seeing color, i.e. the study of specific struggles and triumphs of African Americans from generations ago, enhances our understanding of life today. Boys?
Alright, so, I had 2 quotes. One from both I'm trying to think of the name of the thing. It's called Bird Talker, or one by Bird Talker, and the quote said, "Burn the scorecards, balance out the scales, we are one when distracted by our different sails." And the other one was, "Underneath what's detectable with eyes, every particle is vibrating the same life."
I feel that because you said vibrating. I kind of keep up with a lot of being one with nature and every other being that you're around. Everybody's an energy source, so everybody and everything is made of vibrations or whatever. So I feel like that just connects not just African American. I feel like in that's pointing more towards African Americans to just society.
It kind of is their communities in their churches,
yeah.
You see how they vibrate together, how they do songs together, the big mega churches that we talked about in class, how they all come together as a community instead of just being separate.
I feel that. Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah, I pretty much agree. Yeah, alright. I picked a quote. This one wasn't from a book or anything. I just thought it was pretty inspiring. It's by Dr. Mae Jemison, which is the first Black female astronaut. It says, "Never be limited by other people's limitation. Never be limited by other people's limited imaginations." So I think that pretty much means the sky is the limit. Especially with about, I'm pretty sure she's been through one heck of a struggle. Being the first African American female astronaut. Mm-hmm. It's just overcoming everything and overcoming all the factors that go into play, and just kind of someone tries to get you down, someone tries to tell you can't do something.
That's a big thing with skin color. People assume that she's a Black astronaut. Oh yeah, you don't see any Black astronauts going to the moon.
That don't happen.
Actually, I think it was my cousin. I'm trying to remember his name. He died in the Challenger explosion, a couple of years ago. He was prime example of that. You don't see that many people doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I have something kind of similar. I also found a couple of quotes just because it was going along with what I was looking at. It's kind of similar to that, but kind of differently worded. It says, "If you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude," by Maya Angelou, which is kind of similar because it's don't be limited, but also if you can't change it, change your attitude about it.
It's
don't let it get you down.
It's the Sadia Bashir for Lyanne, I believe, her niece. How she was telling her leave a mark on society, even when society attempts to drain you of your ink or whatever. We're gonna be here for a little while, but will we leave our legacy on society and on different people? It leaves it's the best of everything.
Yeah, I think that quote makes a lot of sense because it talks about being almost adapting to it, because sometimes in this world stuff happens and you can't you just can't change it. It just stuff happens, and it's just You know, as much as you want to just kind of, you know, get down about it and you just want to give up, or you just don't feel like going on, you know, you just kind of got to change your attitude. You got to look at it from the bigger picture, you know. It's just like stuff happens, you know, and you got to get through it and change your attitude. It's just have to, just get over it.
Yeah, just like being persistent.
Yeah, persistence is key.
I found another quote from that where, was it her niece, where she says like, "What do you do when your skin screams terror?" And like, I don't really know, but
Your skin.
on that.
I mean, yeah, like it's kind of tough because like when you see a person, the first thing you see like is their skin. Like no matter who you are, like children, like grown ups, old people, anything. Like the first thing you see is their skin. So like if your skin just screams like terror or like, oh, I'm not welcoming like to others around.
At the airport, I see that all the time. Like,
Yeah.
Middle Eastern people, and I'm not the type to stereotype. I'd be standing there feeling bad for them. I'm just like, dang, like this is what they gotta go through.
Yeah,
Same thing with like
Yeah.
us, like people on the street might see us and be like, oh, he might be a threat, or
People's too quick to judge.
Yeah.
Well,
you don't know a person till you get to meet him.
Yep.
But that's like how like going into this whole colorblind thing, like people say that they're colorblind, but like
Mentally, they still got this.
it's an instinctive thing that just happens. Like you don't mean to. Like
It's just kind of
It's
how
like
you're raised in your background.
It's kind of like, I think like society has kind of contributed to that as well. Like everything that happens, no matter what, is put on the news, and every day you see it growing up, you see it on the news. So I think we like society has become a little bit numb to like the struggles of everyone basically. If it's not you, it's not someone that you know, it's not your town, not your community, you become kind of like, oh, another shooting, okay, that's not changing my life.
It doesn't change really until it happens to you.
Yeah, and that like we judge the other like off of that little information instead of getting it for ourselves and everything, like first person perspective and stuff.
Actually, I found a little bit of a survey that actually kind of touches base with like the color blindness. It said that in 2008, 10% of white respondents stated that, this is a survey, that a lot of discrimination against African Americans exists, while 45 answered that some, compared to 57% of black respondents answered that a lot exists. In the same poll, more whites applied positive attributes to black Americans than negative ones, while blacks described whites even more highly. But a significant minority of whites still called their fellow Americans irresponsible, lazy, or such other things, which would make up the section of people that are like still racist and discriminatory, stuff like that. So I think like 1980s versus now, like the color blindness has moved to sort of color enhancement, but we're not quite there yet because there's still like racism and discrimination, as the survey even shows.
Yeah, like so, like Black Lives Matter, like now or whatever. It's like we're African American and we're proud and we're going to like just leave our legacy and our impact. Cause like even with the little drummer dude that came in, like I was surprised the dude was white. I ain't gonna lie, but he in there doing the drumming stuff, and I'm like, all right, I like that. And it's like that. It's their African drums and everything. He was like real cool about it. And he was like knew like all the history behind it and everything. I was like, that's dope. Like that's the impact of color enhancement. Like it's cool.
Yeah, it's like whatever. Like for the example, that guy that was the drummer, you know, he was. Like, I was kind of surprised he was white too.
Yeah,
as I was.
He was
But it was cool to see that he was, you know, because he was such a strong passion for it.
Oh yeah, he was very passionate.
And he was like so passionate about it, and it's just something that he loved to do, and it's just like that's kind of something that can bring everybody together.
It did. Like
you know,
the whole class was
like the whole class was like jamming to it, and it was just like I personally I would never like sign up for one of those classes, but like now like that would actually I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty cool. You know, like I wouldn't like pay for it. To be honest with you, but like I mean, it was fun. You know, brought everybody together. You know, we all kind of learned something about another culture.
A couple good laughs and like
there's like stuff we're not really used to hearing about. You know, like some of the cultures that we've never even
So I feel like
about.
in this world together, I feel like the people that don't understand and like discriminate and all that stuff need to get a feel for how other cultures and stuff feel. And they don't know what other people go through, like the people they don't like. And like when we see how they treat us, it's like, dang, that's how they feel towards us, and they don't even know us. And then we look at them like, oh, that's how they are. I mean, they could be, I don't know.
It's like a lot of like judging a book by its cover instead of getting to know it.
Yep.
That's why I came to like a point of looking to this like similarities and like dislikes or whatever. It's like we come from completely different places, know completely different things, but like we still have specific like similarities, interests, and everything that just brings us together. And I think that's like the part of colorblind that like people want to be like known or whatever, but like it's not completely like that because people still like section themselves off into like other little subgroups and everything, and yeah, I mean, but that's just like human personalities and stuff.
I personally believe that a good way to bring like people together is through music. You know,
Yeah.
Everybody listens to music, so I mean, it's got
I kind of like the first quote I got from Maya Angelou. I like looked into her backstory a little bit, and one of the other quotes that she has said was, "I've learned that people will forget what you said, forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel."
Yeah.
Which is very true, and like I would think she would know that for sure because she worked with Martin Luther King, and she grew up in a town that was like ravaged by racial inequality, and which was her first taste of injustice. And then her grandmother, who she lived with, was the only black store owner in her community. It was very segregated, so like the whole black community would go to like the one single store, which is kind of like the quote that I said was, it kind of just makes sense with like the music, because music always makes you feel some type of way. Like, I don't know, like with the drumming class, I had fun doing it. That's because like when we all started getting the beat, I felt like, yeah, this is really good, like this is really cool. And like, no, I'm not gonna forget about it. Like, oh yeah, I see the drums and I'll remember, oh yeah, I had a drumming class. Like, I don't know, it's just, I think like music was a big thing in this class, and I think it made a lot of sense that it made an impact in history.
Music was a huge thing.
Yeah.
I peeped this thing from Bruce Hartford. He said that like compared from like protests then, like 1980s or like 60s and everything, from then to like protests now, like they sung their slogans or whatever, or like whatever they were supposed to be screaming in the streets. Now they like just scream like specific little like chants or whatever, and like the point isn't getting across, and it's just because like music has a different impact on people. He was saying like the like energy that it takes and the effort that it actually takes to sing song is way better than just screaming it to the top of your lungs and not actually having any meaning. Interesting to me.
Yeah, I think that's really accurate, because I mean, you know, like you can listen to a song and you can remember it just by hearing it.
Yeah.
But like you talking to somebody, like you're not really gonna remember what they say. You know, but you can hear a song for the first time, you can recognize the beat right off the bat. You know, if you hear it again, you can recognize it. You can kind of sing some of it, like you just kind of know it.
I actually did just hear something, like not even about like songs, but just like daily living situations. We're affected by like sound waves like throughout everything we do. Like we're walking, going to the cafe or whatever. Like different sound waves are hitting our ears and it's telling us like, look this way, see who this is. Like it's crazy. But yeah, it's like we're greatly impacted on like our surroundings. And music is a big influencer in this. So it's like the music we listen to today. Like a lot of it does still have meaning, like we can still relate to it, like romance, R&B.
But it's all definitely
country,
country
music, like, but it's not like serving for like the same purpose as like music used to be. If you get what I'm saying.
Like now, music is mainly just meant just some
for like entertainment.
Yeah, just like kind of just like entertain yourself for a couple of minutes, you know. And then, you know, back in the day, music was like, you know, music had meaning, you know. Music had like. It had purpose, you know, you had a message in the song that you had to like, that some people took differently, like, you know, it impacted people differently, and that's kind of what made it blow up, you know, but nowadays it's kind of just like, if it's catchy, it blows up.
Well, like, I know it's not like as often, but I know there's a couple artists out there that like really do write songs for the meeting, like, I listened to a couple Logic songs the other day, and like one song that like I didn't really understand it at first, but I listened to it a couple times, called Nikki. And he's like singing about his like battle with addiction, and I'm just like, that's like really cool. Like he made a whole song thinking that it's about a girl, but it's actually about a girl. It's about a cigarette. Nicotine.
Yeah. But I do find that like interesting also because music still has like between the medium for music and then like entertaining music now, it's still used as like an escape route from like reality or whatever. So like back then, it's a whole bunch of oppression, misjustice, like the African American community is just being mistreated altogether. They use their religious songs and their spiritual songs and then like just their like cultural songs like blues and jazz and everything to escape from this reality of what they were doing. And we do the same thing now. Like as Sarah was talking about the song Mickey or whatever, like he has addiction. Like he understands this and what he wants to like get away from, what like his goal from this whole situation is to get away from this. So he expressed it through a song, and somebody else, millions of our is now like similar. Yeah,
for real.
That's a good thing about what music too is. Like compared to back then, it's like a wider variety of like different types of music that relates to everybody. So
yeah, there's such a variety of music, especially like even back in the day. You know, there was still a wide variety, and it's just like you said about escaping reality. You know, especially like back in those times, that's what they did. You know, because you know they would go through like all the segregation and like all this huge like depression that they had because of just because of like the problems that they had to face every day. And then they would just like they would all sing about it. Like back whenever they had slaves, they would sing and they would make them feel better and like let them pass the time and kind of get their mind off of what was really happening.
So I want to like circle. You got something to say about music stuff? So I'm about to change it.
I think about that. W.E. Du Bois said, and I think it was I don't remember the name of the thing, but one of the quotes said, "First Jubilee singers sang the slave song so deeply into the world's heart that it can never wholly forget them." And from that, yeah, they sang it. What were you saying about that? I just forgot what you said, but like, I saw something about that and I was just like, I know exactly what he's talking about. I had something to tie into that and I don't remember what.
The slave songs or something?
Something about that.
Sarah?
Well, let me
It
finish
was something about
music, because I was about to change it back to like the
when they would call God, like it would make it, when they dang, I don't remember something about when they would call God, when they sang through the songs, it would make them
Closer to God.
Closer to God,
have a better spiritual like relationship.
Kind of make a promise that they'd like get through like slavery and all that stuff. They'll be okay.
Yeah. Oh, like a resurrection kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, I was switching it back over to color blindness and color enhancing for a minute here because we gotta touch back on that a little bit. Because we also gotta talk about privilege next after this. But so the color blindness was like, for me, when I think of color blindness, I think of just ignoring the struggles and plights of like black people, like not knowing. So for example, like back then, 145 fires were set to churches around the South in the 1990s. Okay. And then one big part to me that first showed color enhanced a little bit was the Trayvon Martin case in 2012. What that was Trayvon Martin, a 17-year-old teenager, was fatally shot by George Zimmerman in Stanford, Florida. Zimmerman was a neighborhood watch volunteer, and Trayvon Martin was a teenager, right? He was a teenager walking back to his house. There was a phone call between Zimmerman and the police, so Zimmerman saying that Martin was acting suspicious, and in the end, Trayvon Martin was shot and killed. Usually, like, back then, like, before 2012, before, like, the 2000s, like, killings like that were, I don't want to say okay, but they didn't really make, like, a nation outcry like this case did. Like, it was so, unfair and so, like, impactful that like it said there was a national outrage about this case when he was when Zimmerman was not charged for the shooting, so they had to arrest him and retry him again. I mean, at the end it was found not guilty, but the principle of it, like, it meant a lot. Like that the whole nation was so upset that he was like found not guilty that they had to rearrest him and retry it again.
And I feel like that blew up so much because like it was a young adult or whatever, so like a lot of women, like adult, like moms, mothers, and everything,
Yeah,
like, they feel for this. Yeah, they feel for this situation. So they like, dude, that's not right. Like, I don't care what his color is. Like, I actually see like another
young
side
man.
Of, another young
that
man
didn't even get
like,
to live to see his 20s.
Yeah.
And I think that was like,
son.
I think that was like a big turning point for like the country, because instead of being like, oh, it's not my problem, it's not me, it's just another shooting, everyone was mad.
Yeah.
So like
that's just like a good example of discrimination and how like judging a book by its cover is so impactful today. You know, because I think he was wearing a hood and it was like dark outside, you know, he just automatically assumed he was doing something.
Yeah,
you know,
but it doesn't matter like the clothes you wear, like
That's
if
what
they're
I'm
baggy or
Where
if
you're at,
it automatically assumes, oh, he's selling or doing drugs, always
Like,
going to do something
dude,
bad.
I'm cold. Like,
Yeah, it's just like I'm cold, my ears are cold, I'm covering my hair up, you know. But it's just
Well,
like
sometimes I might be having a bad hair day. You know?
exactly. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
but that just stood out to me. That's why I decided to mention it, because it was like the color blindness versus the color enhanced, like the turning point for us being more color enhanced. And we're not quite there all the way, because there still obviously is racism and discrimination, but I think we're definitely getting there. Like the older generations are struggling to let go.
yeah.
You may not ever be perfect.
Oh, I don't think we're ever going to be
No, it's
perfect,
never
but I
gonna be
think
perfect.
that like we're definitely getting better.
It will improve. It's not necessarily gonna be perfection.
Oh, there's always going to be someone.
Something's always gonna go wrong, or you know, someone's always gonna have like that one mentality of
And you're not just born with it.
discriminatory.
You're always like, it's always somebody growing up being taught like to discriminate against certain people, or not to discriminate against certain people.
Yeah, I mean, there's still gonna be some. You know, it's never gonna go away. But I believe that like if we can make an impact now, you know, like our generation, you know, whenever we're about to have kids, you know, we can kind of like raise those kids up to, you know, like not look at the skin, you know, look what's behind the skin, you know, like what's in their heart, what's in their mind.
Yeah, but it's always going to be.
Yeah, there's always gonna
There's
be
always
somebody.
gonna be
Even if you
like-
don't mean to, like, you don't even have to mean it. You could be like, oh, honey, we don't want to walk down that way, or oh, honey, like, don't go into that store, or like you don't even have to like mean it, but like Muslims now, or like anyone who wears a hood covering or a wrapping on their face, you always think, oh, terrorist.
Yeah.
Like I'm a little guilty of that, because I'm not gonna say like I'm racist, but like I've seen someone before, and before I got to know them, I was just like, oh boy, I should probably not hang out with
First
them.
time
But
I
like
got on a
in
plane.
high school, I saw in high school there was a girl there, and I had no idea like who she was or what she's doing, and then I was like, I kind of moved away from her. I don't know, it's kind of bad, but I think looking back on it now, like I didn't even think it was an issue. I was just like, okay, I'm walking the other way. But like I got to know her, and she's a really cool girl. Like she was chill as heck. Like we never like hung out outside of school, but we had a couple of classes together, and I really enjoyed like hanging out with her. So like that's just an example for me of like I guess how I was raised. I'm not saying my parents were raised or anything like that, but you know, like not even meaning to, but like
Just, like
by
little
accident.
things.
Like
Yeah.
not even like by accident, just not even recognizing that it was something that I did.
Majority of them aren't even like that, to be honest with you. One of my closest friends I've known for like years. He didn't start out. His dad is Muslim, man, and he got him to like convert over and stuff. But like just hearing like the stuff that he like does, and like he prays all the time and stuff. And it's like, dang, these people like they understand how we feel. They might not believe exactly what we believe in and stuff, but like what they know, what the people that like the radicalized people, like and the terrorists, whatever, they're taught that what we do is evil and everything. Like they
And
really,
then
like
we're taught that
worse
like,
than-
oh, if they were, then they're terrorists. But like it's
Yeah.
not like that. Like then I think it's like a see for yourself kind of thing.
When I hear him talk about the stuff, it's like pretty similar in a way, even though it's different. But
And that's what I feel like is like the big overall picture of like this like mental divide that we have is like Christianity. I mean, not Christianity, but like religion. Like right now we're in like some big fight or whatever because like there's a hit out on like our religious like affiliates or something like that. But it's on us from another religion or whatever. But amongst this other religion is other cultures. Amongst these other cultures is other like cities, towns, ethnicities, and then like it just goes down from there. But like this overall big like divider is religion, and I honestly do feel like that's why religion has empowered so many African Americans and just like like citizens of the United States in general, like from the history to now, because like religion still plays a really big part in how people live their lifestyles.
Yeah, I feel like religion is like that. Those little dividers you put in your notebook. You know, you separate all the pages.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of like what it is. You know, because it's just, you know, like for example, you know, Muslims don't really, or Islam, that whole culture doesn't like Christianity. You know, just because we believe that, you know, Jesus was the Messiah, they don't believe that. You know, so we all have like our differences, and that's kind of like, I feel like that, all that stuff, especially with like Judaism and like the modern day saints, and then, you know, you got like Jehovah's Witnesses. You know, they all believe like similar. Like you can kind of pick apart like the similarities to it, but everything is like so it's different enough to divide people.
Yeah.
You know, it's not something that we can like, oh, well, you kind of believe that, but I mean, like, I don't believe it, but I mean, it's all right. You know, we can still like, we can talk it out. But no, it's just like, it's just enough to where people still divide, because it's like everybody's stubborn in their own beliefs. You know, everyone is like strict and stubborn in what they believe. So it's just like, that's like the divider that divides everybody, even in this nation alone. You know, not just like countries and countries. It's like even in the United States alone, you know, we have that big divider that, you know, I don't think will ever kind of, that's something that'll always be there.
And I kind of like looked into like the other side of this divide. So like you got the negative aspect, of course, as in we're not all socializing with each other. We're not all like get along and everything. But then like you got this whole, say like the African American community or whatever. You have a real top dog boss at like some white collar place or whatever. He's African American. He just so happened to grow up with you or something like that. You got like some of the qualifications and everything, but then like you got like competition and everything who don't like look like him. He don't know him, like none of that, like don't know none of the same struggles. And like I can use that as I can use my culture as a privilege to get somewhere else in society or whatever. And like I feel like it's done amongst all cultures and everything, but it's just not like spoken of. Like it's not something you're actually supposed to say. Like yeah, it's an unspoken rule. Like dude, like I got you, but you feel me? Like,
yeah, I know what you mean.
It can also be used against you though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it's two sides to like everything.
There's two sides to everything, you know. Especially with the whole religion divider, you know, it's just like, you know, I can believe all day that I'm right, and they can believe all day that they're right. You know, and in the end, that's just gonna split us up, and it's gonna create hatred and like hatred and war and, you know, arguments and stuff. I found a couple quotes actually. A lot of them were. I found a couple of Malcolm X that are really nice. You know, like I think this kind of ties into the whole segregation and the oppression kind of thing. You know, Malcolm X said, "Education is the passport to the future. For tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today." That's accurate, you know, and it's like, and back in his time, you know, it was hard for people to get education, especially the African American community, you know. So him saying that quote, you know, that kind of made a lot of these people, you know, like trying to drove them, you know, to try harder, you know, even if it was going to be hard, even if they were going to get shut down, it kind of made them try a little harder to get into where they were, like into a good school or a good education program. You know, that's kind of like, I think that's what his whole like meaning behind the quote was, you know.
And that's what I feel like the foundation of like the whole color enhancement movement was. Like, if you don't have an education, if you don't know how to talk to somebody, like nobody's actually going to take you serious.
That's kind of like the.
So.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting. Like how it was hard to get education because of like the rule is separate but equal.
Yeah.
You know, like it's. They say it was separate but equal, but it wasn't even close to being equal. They gave them schools, but the schools were run down and crappy.
And they taught the same.
No, they're not even being taught the same things. Like, the white schools would have like proper desks, proper chairs, proper teachers, like whiteboards and stuff like that. And then black schools would have like older chairs, mismatched, probably passed down from the white schools when they got new stuff. Like stuff like that. It was separate but equal, but it was not equal, even close.
That's what like the Plessy versus Ferguson and Brown versus Board of Education, like color enhancement. When those two cases like were finalized or whatever, color enhancement just like blew up. Like, we're literally forced to interact with different cultures now or whatever. So like you start talking to more people, you start hearing new ideas, you start seeing you have similar interests. Your whole perception on this culture has just changed.
Like It was, but at the same time, it was a lot of racism too.
Yeah.
There was a big time
of course,
racism.
it goes through a
was
process.
like, it took a minute for like after that for like the color blindness to become color enhancement with that time. It took definitely a grace period for the type to transfer over because no one was happy when that happened. Except like I don't want to say no one was happy, but definitely the racist whites were not happy that there was people that didn't want their schools.
That's kind of like, you know, for like a modern day example, it helps someone understand that. It's like, you know, if you and your friends are planning to go out and you don't really want to go out, you know, like me, I'm a very secluded person, so like, you know, if my squad just like, hey, yo, let's go hit the club or something, I'm like, nah, I don't feel like going. You know, but like they kind of force me to go out, they kind of like make me go, but I end up enjoying it. You know, that's kind of like how that whole thing worked, you know, because there were like, I'm sure there were some people that was like so upset about it, but then like they started talking to people.
There was
and like
outside of the schools.
Yeah, and they were just like upset about it and mad about it and like oh, I don't want to interact with those nasty people, blah blah blah, whatever, you know. But then they got to talk to them and know them and like, hey, these like we're all humans, you know, like we have similar interests. And, yeah, exactly. You know, it's just kind of like I think that's easy way to understand it. You know.
Do y'all think America is still like kind of colorblind like in today's age?
I think so. I think we're a bit more enhanced, but we're still colorblind to an extent.
Yeah, there's still going to be I think there's still discrimination, especially when it comes to like what you said about like getting into a school or something. You know, if these two people have the same credentials, you know, they have the same background, you know, they're obviously going to like when everything starts being too similar, you know, they're going to pick the one that looks more appealing. You know, the one that that kind of looks like
that part.
Yeah, like you know, say for example, you know, you look at me as like maybe like I don't know, like a diet trainer or something. I don't really look like it, but I may have went to school for it and studied it, and like I'm starting on it. But for someone who's like buff and muscular, you know, they have the same schooling and everything, but they're gonna get picked for it because they look more the part.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of like that's just how it works nowadays. Like no matter how much we like it or don't like it, that's just what happens.
Yeah, looks are a big
thing. Everything.
Yeah.
Just kind of picked it off of that. Well, not everything, but like most of the stuff we do today, when it comes to like a sports team, who might be playing football, who might be the more faster receiver, or who knows playbook definitely decides it. But like, yeah, stuff like that. The better player is gonna be the one that's gonna be the one to play.
Right.
Could be the same speed and.
Yeah, they could have the same, you know, credentials, same speed, same lifts, you know, same maxes, you know, but just like the one that just kind of like looks the part, the one that kind of like makes the team look better, you know, has that one little stylish part about them.
Me being a receiver could be a kid that's probably a little bigger, but we have the same like skill level matches up. They're gonna pick him.
Yeah, I feel that
every day.
That's why I feel like Martin Luther King was like such a influential speaker, like because he actually got people to listen rather than judge it by like all this other stuff. Like when you just hear, like I was talking about sounds earlier, when you just hear like the energy in his voice or like the sound waves, like he actually enunciated everything to like, dude, like you need to feel what I'm saying. Like this is a problem. We're gonna stop it. And I feel like now, like this day and age, we do have like influential speakers like that, but they're not like as big or like as common or anything.
Yeah.
I feel like the ideas though, like we spread the same ideas though, like throughout like just our daily conversations and everything.
I tell you the reason it just like they don't blow up as it does like you know like Martin Luther King did because everybody has social media, everybody sees it, so it's not really like a big like.
I think people are afraid to speak out.
Yeah, it's just like everyone sees it, but it doesn't like kind of blow up like. Brings attention to it. Like, yeah, I may have saw the video, but like, I didn't like watch it. You know what I'm saying? It's like everybody has seen it, but they didn't care enough to watch it. I think that's kind of like in today's society. You know, someone who actually has something like powerful and meaningful to say. Like a lot of these TEDx talks, I've only seen like 3 TEDx talks. I just don't hear about them. You know, and like the ones you listen to, they're really meaningful and powerful, but it's just like the voice isn't out there. You know, it's just like something lacks, you know, that way like it doesn't grab anybody and it doesn't like, only the people that really hear it is the people that like want to, like people that look into it. Yeah.
You gotta have a determination.
Yeah, and then but like something like the people that need to hear it, you know, the people that like that are going through stuff and need to hear something, they don't ever hear about it because it's like they don't know.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like such a blind spot.
For real. I think that's a part of just like how then they actually had to work for, let's say, their educations, their bathrooms, all this stuff. So like when they finally got it, it's like, all right, we're gonna appreciate it. Well, now nobody, let's say, no young white people now ever had their own bathrooms, and then like a bunch of people that just hated it. They came in and just interrupted everything. No black people, like no young black people nowadays were treated like trash, and then threw into the trash, and then like had to fight through everything to get to a better point. Like a lot of stuff is taken for granted, but I think that is a big part of why we don't have as many influential speakers and people. If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I feel like it kind of like is better to be taken for granted than not be taken at all. You know?
Yeah.
Like than being like the kid that gets treated bad and being that, and I'd rather people take it for granted and have those privileges than not.
Yeah.
And speaking of privilege, like one thing we have to touch on is that poet Sadir Bashir cautions is the voice of privilege that makes the claim, well, I don't see color. So how is it different that privilege don't see color in the issue of like color blindness versus color enhanced? I feel like people with money definitely don't see the problems as much. Like, there's like that top, 10% of America that's living
I thought it was
blind.
like top 3.
Top 3?
Yeah.
Is it? Oh, I don't know.
thought-
That's even worse.
Yeah.
People-
Like they fix their problems with money.
The whole problem with like the Mexicans coming over the border and stuff like that. Not just about money, but like they're facing like get the cartels over there, like innocent people getting killed and stuff like that. Like they're coming over here to live a better life to make. That's why I see a lot of like Mexicans working the jobs, and like a lot of people here that don't want them over here.
I mean,
Mad about that.
it's like that's taking up resources though.
I mean, yeah, but I mean,
there's a lot of
It
people.
is, but
personally, me, I don't. Well, right
so
now, I
you
don't
can
think
say
it's
your opinion.
effective.
It's not
Yeah,
like this is like
I
it's
know.
supposed
I'm
to
just
be
saying,
a
but
safe
like,
space. So
I see where they're coming from, like why they would come over here. Because like,
Yeah.
if that was me,
Cause I do
I'd
the
be
same
come over
thing.
here too. Yeah.
Yeah,
but like
but you gotta find some loophole to like get what you want. I don't think it's just like smart to just like dash straight forward and then.
I mean,
Well,
you
so
gotta
what-
kind of look at like the big picture too. You know, it's kind of like, I mean, yeah, I understand why they go over here, and like I support them coming over here 100%. You know, but it's kind of like the way they do it. You know, it's like, say for example, like you wanted to like me and you, like you wanted to come to my house and like play Xbox or something. And
But
like,
if I come over and just
I
trash
didn't-
it,
you're right, you're right.
Like,
Like,
I
you
didn't,
don't
like,
like-
if I didn't know you was coming over, you know, you just barge in the house, you know, like if I hear someone barge in the house, you know, I'm gonna grab my gun. I'm like, what's going on, you know? And like, like he wasn't really like wanted at the time, you know. But then like you call me and like, you know, you do it the right way. Hey, I'm meant to be there in like 20 minutes. You come in, I'll go the door, you know, like
I
we're
don't
straight.
think of it that
See,
way.
but like,
Yeah.
then on like a political part though, like when everything is like signed off on, like the Jim Crow laws are like no longer like they're abolished or whatever, right? It's signed off on, but like society still doesn't accept it. Like as soon as it happens, it's just like, oh, race. They say we can't be racist no more. Okay, no more racism.
Yeah.
Like it
it's
doesn't
kind of
happen
like
like
it's
that.
the people like the people that are like, oh, let's all come in to steal our jobs are the people that don't have jobs, but they're
Yeah.
not looking.
Yeah.
Like the
It's a
jobs
lot of
over here
money
are
out there.
not like they're not doing very nice jobs. They're doing jobs like construction, sewer work, jobs that literally no one works
Yeah.
because A, there's a high caution risk, or B, they're dirty.
Yeah.
And like you can't complain about them
If you're
taking
not
jobs
doing
that nobody wants.
Yeah.
If you don't have a job and you're not looking for a job, making the effort to better yourself or anyone around, why are you complaining about someone that is? Regardless of why they're here or if you're okay with them being here, like that simple principle should be like, oh, they're doing my jobs if you're not
Yeah.
looking or didn't apply in the first place.
I think people are just really like territorial.
Yeah, they don't like
Even
change.
Even over
They don't
stuff
like
that's
people
just
that aren't
like
like-
not theirs. Like like on chains, everything. Like they it's built this way. They want to stay. They want to keep it that way.
They're comfortable.
And yeah, they're comfortable. On a dinner.
Which is why, like, when someone moves to, like, a neighborhood, like, that is predominantly white or predominantly black, they get looked in some type of way because they're like, you're not like us. Which is still why America is still more colorblind than color enhanced, even though we're making moves towards it.
Yeah. But I do feel like we still, like, we communicate better than,
Yeah, that's
like,
what I'm saying. We're
before.
more
I'm like,
color enhanced.
first time seeing a new person, like, no matter skin tone, you're gonna judge them or whatever.
Oh, of course.
But until, like, you actually start talking to them, no matter what the skin tone is, you can meet one person a week ago and actually talk to them, like, after a week, and then you meet another one that's completely different race, do the same thing. But we're still gonna judge, but it's a slowly moving process.
I think that's just part of like the human instinct, you know, like especially like, you know, like just like if you're walking by yourself, you know, you're already like slightly paranoid, you know, even like for example, like at night you're walking by yourself and then you see like a group of people, like you see a group of people, and
Keep going.
okay, but like I said, you know, it's just happened. You know, you see like a group of people, no matter the color, you know, you kind of get paranoid. You know, just feel like you don't like you think of the worst possible situation. You know, like, well, what if they try to do this? You know, what if like I'm outnumbered? So what if they try to like hold me down? You know, steal my stuff? You know, like
all the time.
Yeah.
I promise you, it's me here. I don't really. When I'm here, I go everywhere by myself.
Yeah, for
honestly,
real.
I don't.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's just how it happens.
If you're on the step, you better step correct.
Alright, so we reached our 40-minute mark, so closing statements, anyone has anything lasting to say?
Man, I just really appreciate the whole color enhancement movement. Like, even from like big names such as Erykah Badu or Maya Angelou, like on a literary aspect. It's just a way of expressing what we go through, how we feel, how African Americans feel, and sometimes everybody don't know how to put these feelings and expressions into words. And I feel like it's the same with like country music and everything, because there's some country music that I never thought I would like, and I'm like, oh Lord, when it rains, it pours. Cause on the tough days, it's tough, man. Yes. But I mean, that's all. I feel like culture enhancement needs to be a great thing, but I'm proud of it.
It's like the next step.
Yeah, I think this class like really like it enlightened me to a lot of the stuff that I'd never thought about. You know, especially like with today's culture, you know, what you think you're going through, you think it's the worst that anybody's ever going through. You know, you don't know what, like, I don't know what you're going through, I don't know what he's going through, you don't know what I'm going through, you know? But like human nature is always to put yourself first, so you know, so you only think about your problems and your societal problems and stuff like that, but you know, once you like really get into depth about, you know, the differences in cultures, you know, what they struggle through, you know, you start to kind of appreciate more, you know? And then you just kind of start to feel for the other cultures and other people, and you know, it just kind of like enlightens you, and it kind of brings people closer. You know, and like with this class, it made me like kind of open my eyes a lot to, you know, some of the stuff that I never thought about, and like brought me closer to like people I've never known, you know, and stuff like that. African drumming, you know, I listened to a couple videos on YouTube after that class, you know, like I was like, that's kind of cool. I never would thought about it, you know. So I think that's what this whole that's the importance of it, you know, bringing everybody together and kind of just, you know, like you know, you're not the only one going through this. You know, we're all struggling. Let's help each other out. Like to get over a wall, you know, like here I put my hands on my knee, you get over, and then once you get up top, you grab my hand and you pull me over. But if you're just by yourself, you can't climb it. You know what I'm saying? So,
two is better than one.
Yeah.
If you want anything to say?
What he said.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Well, yeah, my experience in this class, I really came in thinking, you know, it's just a gigantic, that's all I need. Like, I actually did take away a good bit from this class, and like, I wasn't paying attention 24/7, I slacked off, but like at the end of the day, like, I actually did take something from it. Like, I learned a lot of like the history of like things that opened my eyes that I never seen before. Like, I don't know, just all like the movements, all like the what Bloody Sunday, Black Sunday, I don't remember. Bloody Sunday. Like, I had heard about it, but I never went to depth. Like, it did like definitely teach me things about the history and like the actual struggles. Cause like, I think I was also a little colorblind too. Like, I didn't even realize like until it happens to you. But like in this class, it shows like a lot more about like the struggles of what everyone went through, and like the need to change, like the have to change. Yeah, it makes you appreciate it a little bit more.
We're lucky that we didn't have to go through that. Like, we got it way easier.
Like we had the people fight for us, you know. Like now we're all. We can all go to the same school now because of what they did back in the day.
It's not perfect, but it's definitely better.
Yeah, it's not perfect. It's nowhere near perfect. It's a lot better than what it used to be.
Restaurants and stuff like that. You gotta worry about. Oh, you can't come in here.
Water fountains, even.
Yeah, even slightest things like water fountains, sidewalk. You know, you can't walk on the same sidewalk. Like that's just pure ignorance. You know, and it's like you never thought about that. Like you never thought about like what people used to go through. You know, and now you're like, wow, you know, that sucks. You know, I feel for them. You know.
Alright, well, guys, it's been
discussion.
fun. Good discussion.
Now to you, Ollie.